The moment the handwritten sign went up, everything changed, and no one on that quiet street realized they were about to witness a complete public meltdown that would end with flashing lights, a tow truck, and one woman's sudden fall from fake authority. It started on an ordinary afternoon, the kind where nothing dramatic ever happens, until drivers began noticing a bold message taped to a stop sign. Parking, 25 cash only, no city logo, no permit number, just a demand. People laughed at first, assuming it was a prank, but then they saw her, Karen, arms crossed, clipboard in hand, watching every car like a hawk guarding prey. She stepped into the road, stopping vehicles, explaining with confidence that she was in charge of parking. Now, according to her, the street was private, and anyone who didn't pay would be towed. The problem was simple. The street was completely free public parking. Always had been, always would be, or so everyone thought. A young delivery driver was the first to push back, calmly explaining that he parked there every day for work. Karen didn't flinch. She pointed to the sign and told him rules had changed this morning. When he laughed, she threatened to call a tow truck immediately. That's when phones came out. Neighbors opened windows. Someone started recording. Karen loved the attention. She began pacing, announcing fees louder, collecting cash from confused drivers who didn't want trouble. $25 at a time, straight into her purse. Each minute she grew bolder, claiming she had city approval and legal authority. No one could produce proof, including her. Tension thickened as a local resident named Mark finally stepped forward. Mark had lived on that street for 12 years and knew every parking rule by heart. He told Karen she was scamming people and needed to stop. Karen snapped. She accused him of harassment, yelled that he was trespassing on her managed zone, and dramatically pretended to dial her phone. But she wasn't calling the city. She was calling a tow company, and that decision would end everything she thought she controlled. Within 20 minutes, the street looked nothing like its usual calm self. Cars were double parked, neighbors stood in clusters, and Karen remained front and center, loudly explaining her system to anyone who challenged her. Mark, now joined by 2 other residents, calmly told drivers not to pay and assured them the street was free. That only enraged Karen further. She screamed that they were sabotaging her authority and pointed at several cars, declaring them tow targets. When the tow truck finally arrived, Karen smirked like she'd just won a war. She marched toward the driver, waving her clipboard, and immediately started giving orders. What she didn't realize was that Mark had already called the city's parking enforcement office, and they were on their way too. The tow driver, a seasoned man named Luis, didn't rush. He asked Karen for documentation, permits, authorization, anything. Karen froze for half a second, then claimed it was in her email. While she fumbled with her phone, Luis noticed the sign taped to the pole and shook his head. He knew the rules. Public streets require city authorization, and this smelled wrong. Karen tried changing tactics, insisting the residents were lying, and that she was appointed. Luis stepped back and refused to hook any vehicle without proof. That's when Karen lost control. She shouted that he was refusing a legal order and threatened to report him. Her voice echoed down the street. Just then, a white city vehicle pulled up. Parking enforcement had arrived. The officer stepped out, surveyed the scene, and immediately asked Karen to explain. She launched into a dramatic story about being hired to manage parking abuse. The officer calmly asked for her permit. Silence. Karen doubled down, pointing at the money in her purse and saying it was collected fees. That single sentence changed the tone completely. The officer asked her to hand over the cash. Karen refused. Neighbors gasped. Phones zoomed in. The tow driver quietly smiled, knowing how this would end. The officer's patience was gone. He explained slowly and clearly that collecting money on a public street without authorization was illegal. Karen interrupted him 3 times, insisting she knew her rights. That was a mistake. The officer asked for her ID. She hesitated, then complied, still arguing loudly. As he ran her information, he asked how much money she had collected. Karen claimed maybe $50. A neighbor spoke up and said he personally saw her take over $200. The officer asked Karen to open her purse. Inside was a thick roll of cash. The crowd murmured. The officer counted it carefully, announcing the total, $375. Karen's face drained of color. The officer informed her she was being cited for fraud, harassment, and illegal solicitation. Karen exploded, shouting that everyone was conspiring against her. She demanded the tow truck leave and accused the officer of siding with criminal parkers. That outburst sealed her fate. The officer placed her in handcuffs, explaining she was being detained pending further investigation. The sound of the cuffs clicking echoed louder than any shout she'd made. The tow truck never towed a single car that day. Instead, Luis was asked to tow Karen's vehicle, which was illegally parked across a fire hydrant. When the truck lifted her car, the crowd erupted in applause. Karen screamed that this wasn't over as she was led to the patrol car. Her sign was ripped down. The street returned to normal, free, quiet, honest, but the video was already online, spreading fast. By nightfall, millions had watched her downfall. The aftermath was even more devastating for Karen than the arrest itself. Within days, the video had gone viral across every major platform, racking up millions of views and thousands of comments. Internet detectives quickly uncovered her identity, and the story grew beyond the street where it began. Local news stations picked it up, replaying the moment her car was towed again and again. The city issued an official statement confirming the street was always free parking and warning residents about unauthorized fee collectors. Karen was formally charged, and the collected cash was returned to the driver she scammed. Several neighbors were interviewed, all saying the same thing. They never imagined something so absurd could happen on their block. The tow company released its own statement, praising the driver for refusing to act without proper authorization. Meanwhile, Karen attempted to defend herself online, posting long rants claiming she was misunderstood. Those posts only fueled more backlash. Employers recognized her. Friends distanced themselves. The illusion of power she created collapsed completely. What started as a cheap sign and fake confidence ended with real consequences. The street went back to being just a street, but the lesson lingered. Authority isn't claimed with a clipboard. Rules aren't made by shouting louder. And pretending to control public space can cost you far more than you ever collect. In the end, a tow truck didn't just remove a car. It removed the lie. If you enjoyed this wild story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another crazy Karen showdown. Drop a comment below telling us what you would do if this happened on your street. And don't forget to like the video to support the channel.